Greetings from Father Isidore Clark. As we approach the end of the Church's liturgical year, the Sunday Gospels urge us to think both about the end of our personal lives here on earth, as well as the end of time, when Christ will return in glory to judge the living and the dead. In today's Gospel, for the 33rd Sunday of Ordinary Time, we are given one of the parables of the kingdom. This is about a master rewarding or punishing his servants according to what they did with the talents he entrusted to them. Originally, a talent was a valuable Roman coin worth about a workman's annual wage. But Jesus transposed this to refer to the skills and graces God has given us. What do we do with them? We know that we develop our abilities by using them. Practice makes perfect. If we don't use our skills, we may lose them, or at least they can become rusty. That's why sports people spend hours practicing. But this approach can be far too self-centered. It can be all about self-improvement by achieving the goals we set ourselves, doing our own thing. But this self-centeredness misses the point of the parable. This is about God being the master who has entrusted to each of us certain talents. Above all, he has given us himself as the deepest expression of his love for us. He has dared to entrust himself to us. What is more, he has given us the capacity to welcome him with love. The vital question God will ask each one of us is, what did we do with his gift? What have we done with his gift of himself? God has dared to love us. Will we dare to love him and the needy with whom the crucified Christ identifies? There's a business saying that goes, you must speculate to accumulate. That's very true of this parable. Of its very nature, love reaches out beyond itself to express and share itself. God's love has expressed his love for us by creating us, by entrusting the world, his world, to our care. Above all, the Son of God has given his very life so that we may welcome and share his love, life and happiness. By entrusting his gift of himself to us, God dares to love. He has made himself vulnerable to our rejecting him. But if we are afraid to respond to his love, our capacity to love will shrivel and die. We will have shunned the greatest gift of all, God himself. That was the mistake of the servant who buried the talent entrusted to him in the ground. It didn't accumulate because he was afraid to speculate. On the other hand, the more we love, the greater our capacity to love. Quite simply, love grows through loving, shrinks, withers through refusing to love. But it does take courage to love God with our whole mind, heart and soul. The hardest prayer to say and mean is, thy will be done, or not my will, but yours be done. To do this, we must be prepared to entrust our whole lives to God's love and care for us, believing we are in good hands. But we do hold back. We may fear God will be too demanding. His will for us may upset our plans, may exclude the pleasures we would seek for ourselves. The love and care Christ expects us to show the needy may seem too inconvenient or difficult. So we close our minds and hearts, we look the other way, and go about our own affairs. Or we may fear that doing God's will, putting God's given talents at his loving service, will involve life-changing decisions. Most of us have a variety of skills, and could therefore develop in a number of directions, each of which could be used in God's service and be fulfilling for us. The disciples could have remained fishermen. Mary could have continued in an uneventful domestic life. But each of them was called to make a giant leap of faith in doing what God asks of them. Surprisingly, they achieved far more by saying yes to what God wanted of them than if they had stuck to their own plans. The former fishermen became the greatest missionaries upon whom Jesus would build his church. Mary became the mother of the Son of God, Jesus Christ, the Saviour of the world. By making God's will their will, they found their fulfillment rather than by insisting on sticking to their own personal plans. So what about the person who buried the talent he'd been given? He was so paralyzed with fear that he did not dare to say yes to God and do what the Lord expected of him. He was afraid not only to serve God's interests, but also his own. It's not that he did anything wrong, but that he didn't do anything right. Paralyzed with fear of putting a foot wrong, he wasted his life. Again, we may fear that in daring to reach out to God and each other, we will make ourselves vulnerable. We will get hurt. In self-defense, we turn in on ourselves. As we do so, we shrivel into a safe, lonely, but loveless life. That is what hell is all about. A sterile existence which lacks the courage to welcome the God who is love itself. But if we dare to lose ourselves in unselfish, loving service of God and each other, we will find our true selves. If we wholeheartedly welcome God, He will welcome us with His infinite love into His kingdom. That will be our eternal happiness. To dare to love is not a reckless, foolhardy gamble, but prudent trust in the God who is love itself.